We are so excited to welcome back Rabbi Richard Sarason, the director of the Pine School of Graduate Studies and the Deutsch Family Professor of Rabbinics and Liturgy at Hebrew Union College's Cincinnati campus. We thank you for driving in from Cincinnati just earlier today. And we learned so much from you when you came for part one of your scholar in residency in Elul to prepare us for the High Holy Days. And we come together now for part two of Rabbi Sarason's scholar in residency, because the great thing about prayerful Jewish spirit in these poetic words of the liturgy is that it's not just once a year in the High Holy Days. It's here for us anytime we seek, including every Shabbat, every ordinary week of the year. The same way, let's say, the joy of being a baseball fan isn't just during the World Series. It's throughout the whole year. Even during the winter, baseball fans are reading Sports Illustrated and doing the hot stove heater, as I used to do in high school. So how much more so when we sense the divine presence is it something that's here for us anytime we seek it. And Rabbi Sarason is going to guide us through all the beautiful paths of the great national park of the liturgy. He is the author of Divrei Mishkan Tefillah, Words of Mishkan Tefillah, Dwelling Place of Prayer, the 2007 and newest North American Reform Jewish edition of the Siddur, of the liturgy. And as you know from this past August, his erudition is matched only by his menschlichkeit, the quality of being a mensch, and his kindness. We are so happy that you, and as well that Rabbi Sarason's wife, Annie Ehrenstein, are here together as you visited the community so many times over the years as dear friends of Carolyn and George Lipson Walker, that you're here once again lifting up this the congregation right here in our midst. So I suggest for each of us, as we go through this service, I'll invite each of us to ask ourselves, what's something about Jewish prayer and liturgy that I've always wondered but never had the chance to ask? Because now you do. We're going to hear a bit from Rabbi Sarason in just a moment about some of the depth and contours of Yedid Nefesh beyond the borders of just seeing through the words. And that'll begin us tonight. But then later in the evening, during the Devar Torah slot, Rabbi Sarason will offer an opening framing of what we do when we sing the words of Erev Shabbat liturgy. And then most of the time is going to be saved for Q&A, so that you will have the chance to ask the questions that either you've always wanted to know, or maybe you're new to Judaism, and so there's lots of questions popping up. And by the way, sometimes when someone's new to Judaism and they ask a question, folks who grew up Jewish have always been wondering that too. So we're all going to have the chance to ask our questions and learn a lot. And when you do, I think we're all going to find together that on a deep level, it turns out we don't need ChatGPT, because we have something infinitely richer, which is people. Here we have a world-renowned expert in Jewish liturgy, one of the top people in the field. And guess what? When Rabbi Sarason gives you an answer, you know it's true.
We're not going to look it up again.
But first, we will begin, as we do, on the front of our handouts, with the practice of invoking that we are here for the purpose of loving our fellow as ourselves. And this will be a great segue into what Rabbi Sarason is going to say about Yedid Nefesh, because as you can see here in the little footnote that we have here every week from Mishkan Nefesh, from the High Holy Day Machzor, where this appears, but it is for prayer throughout the year, that this tradition of invoking that we're here explicitly for the purpose of loving our fellow as ourselves, this comes from Kabbalah, from the school of Rabbi Isaac or Yitzchak Luria from Sfat, from the Galilee in the 1500s in the wake of the Spanish Inquisition. And sometimes in Judaism today, we might think there's the tradition, this monolithic thing, all which is thousands and thousands of years old, and then we in modernity might stand in opposition to it. But good news, it's not so. Adding innovation to the tradition is itself part of the tradition. And so just as we've had a great burst in Jewish creativity in late 20th and early 21st century America with, say, Debbie Friedman's compositions and the Union Prayer Book in Reform Judaism being replaced by Gates of Prayer and then by Mishkan Tefillah, or, for example, the liberation theology and activism of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, everything we love about American Judaism these days, there have always been periods of bursts of creativity in Jewish life, and one of them was the world of mysticism in the 1500s in Sfat in the Galilee after the expulsion from Spain. And we're going to hear more about that from Rabbi Sarason in just a moment. So segueing in, we will begin with this wonderful practice from that same intellectual and spiritual climate with these wonderful beloved words. So please join me first in the English. Here I am, ready to take upon myself the sacred charge of my Creator, love your neighbor as yourself. And in the Hebrew, mekabel being masculine grammar, mekabelet being feminine, mekablim would be non-binary. Please join me. Hareini mekabel alai mitzvat haborei ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. And let us say Amen. So now we're going to invite up Rabbi Sarason, as well as Annie Ehrenstein, his wife, as well as Carolyn Lipson-Walker, our beloved pillar of the community, who is hosting our distinguished guests this Shabbat. Thank you for hosting them as our guests and your dear old friends. You can find the blessing for candle lighting on page 2. And we know that as you all come together to the Bima in a spirit of decades of friendship, that George is on the Bima in spirit. Rabbi Sarason will stay at the Bima, and I will invite everybody to take out your handouts and to turn together to pages 2 and 3. Rabbi Sarason, take it away. And the mic is on.
So most of you know the hymn Yedid Nefesh, which is also in Mishkan Tefillah. But what I've given you here is the actual text. We actually have a handwritten manuscript of this poem by the author, who was one of the Sfat mystics in the 16th century. And this is a manuscript that is in the library of the Jewish Theological Seminary in New York. And it is called Bakasha al Hayichud. I'm having trouble reading it. V'hakarava. It was not written for Erev Shabbat. It is a personal petition for. It's the soul's yearning for the divine presence and for unification with the divine presence and nearness to God. And it was taken up into the Erev Shabbat liturgy, or it was sung before Kabbalat Shabbat in the Sephardi liturgy and also in the Middle Eastern rite. Together with the chanting of Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, because basically it is a poem about yearning for unification with God, and it's a love song. And the Yedid Nefesh, the soul's beloved, is God. And this is, and it's written in the first person singular. The common texts move it into the first person plural, so we can sing it together. But it's written in the first person singular, about how I long for you, and how I would run after you, and my soul is faint with love for you. Be moved with tenderness, and reveal yourself. And redeem us, for the time has come. So at the very end, it refers also to the situation of the people in exile. But it's show me your favor as in days of old. It's a beautiful, beautiful poem, and there are many melodies to this poem. And you know several melodies, and I encountered one melody in Jerusalem that it turns out was actually written in Brooklyn. Yitzchak Alster is the composer of the melody at the Chaim Berlin Yeshiva in Brooklyn, in Flatbush. And it is circulated, and this is a poem that has to be sung because music goes out much further than words. And this is a song that begins low, and it rises and it falls, and it rises and it falls. There are melodies that just sort of take your breath away in terms of how they really fit the text. And this is one of them. So I'd like to share this with you and teach it to you along the way. It goes like this. So have a look at the text here. Okay? Yedid Nefesh Av Harachaman Mishoch Avdach Eretzoncha Yarutz Avdach Kemo Ayal Yishtachavem Mul Hadarach Ki Yerav Lo Yedidutach Minov Etzov Vechol Tam. And then it goes around again. Each verse is the same.
If you need transliteration, it's on 332 in the back of the prayer book. Although
there's some slight variations, right?
The quote-unquote standard text has some errors that have crept in, but if you want transliteration, it can be found there.
So again, I try to start in a low enough key because it gets high. It's like the national anthem. Yedid Nefesh Av Harachaman Mishoch Avdach Eretzoncha Yarutz Avdach Kemo Ayal Yishtachaveh Mul Hadarach Ki Yerav Lo Yedidutach Minov Etzov Vechol Tam Hadur Na'eh Ziv HaOlam Nafshi Cholat Avatach Ana Elna Refana Alam בהרות לנועם זיווך, אז תתחזק ותתרפא, והייתה לה שכחת עולם, ותיק יהמו רחמך. חוש נא על בן אוהבך, כי זה כמה נכסף לראות בתפארת וזך. אנא אלי מחמד ליבי, חושנה ואל תתעלם, יגאלנה ופרוס חביב עלי את סוכת שלומה. תאיר ארץ מכבודך, נגילה ונשמחה בך, מהר אחוב כי במועד, וכונני כי מעולם. And it ends hanging.
Thank you, Yasher Kalach. Thank you so much, Rabbi Sarason. Thank you for guiding us so that we might pour out all the yearnings in our souls for unification in a broken world, and for and our yearnings for coming closer to the divine presence according to what that means for each of us.